It's time for Insert Client's Product Title here. The greatest podcast or media product or insert name of medium on insert name of client's planet. Billing reference 93424.
You join me at a tremendously exciting moment. It's Into Your Head, number 598 for Monday. We've a lot to get on with today. Items that need to be attended to, issues that need to be addressed, topics. Oh, topics. We've got lots and lots of topics. We're positively booming to the seams with topics. We've got topics coming out of every which way. Every which way, is that even a proper phrase? Every which way. Which way, surely to Christ is a question. So every which way you're saying, hello, every which way, please. If you go up to someone in the street and say that, they'll say, what? And you'll say again, you'll say, every which way, please. And they'll say, have you listened to the words that are coming out of your mouth? And you'll say, no, why would I? They're not directed at me, they're directed at you. And they'll say, well, you should listen to them, at least for quality control purposes. You might then figure out why people are giving you an odd look when you come up to them in the fucking street with that crap. Have some pride in yourself, man, for Christ's sake. That's what they'll say. And you'll say, leave Christ out of this. There's no need to take the Lord God Jesus as Christ's name in vain, or his son, or his father for that matter. They're all, like father, like son, like grandson. They're all like that. All pretty much the same, the Christ family, from a long line of basically well-meaning supreme deities, albeit stuff. Well, let's not go there. Let's not get bogged down in supreme deities and their bloodlines. Let's carry on with today's episode of Into Your Head, number 598 for Monday. Hello. Two cats walk into a bar. One of the cats straight away goes up to the bar and says, hello, can I have 2 pints of your finest milk, please? And the bar woman says, our finest milk, that's something that I wouldn't be able to judge, I'm afraid. I'm not much of a milk connoisseur. I'm more a connoisseur of spirits and wines and fine ports and ales, but I'll do my best. I'll read the labels on these milk cartons and try and determine which one is the best. I'm afraid we don't have cat milk, unfortunately. We don't have much call for it here, although now that you mention it, maybe there is some somewhere and I just haven't noticed, because as I said, I'm not a connoisseur of the whole milk genre, especially from a point of view of baronage. So anyway, if you'll excuse me a second, I'm going to go and have a look in this fridge behind me and see what I can find and see if I can cobble together an acceptable beverage for you in response to your request for a couple of pints of our finest milk. And the cat says, okay, that's a bit of a drawn out response, more than was necessary from my point of view anyway, but thank you very much. Clearly you can be trusted to serve us as best you can. You won't neglect us in any way, and if you come up with anything less than fantastic, it won't be from lack of trying, it'll just be from your overall failure to master the art of milk bar management. Not that you're required to. I do realise it's not compulsory for bar people to be able to master the dairy milks. Bollocks. Now what the fuck is this? What is this? Can you tell me that? What is this? Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Here I am. Another day, another bar cat story. Another morning wasted away sitting in here talking. That's all I do now. Talk. I might get a headache in a while from this deodorant that I seem to have sprayed in my face. Never mind. Never mind. No point crying over spilt milk, as they say. Spilt milk. What if your tears were made of milk? What effect would that have on the whole thing? Would they say, no point crying milk out of your eyes, because then you're spilling milk, and that'll make you cry, and that'll be pointless, as is established before on many occasions when we use this phrase, don't cry over spilt milk. But where does that leave you? I don't know. Just because you tell someone not to cry over spilt milk, that doesn't mean they won't. Sometimes that sort of thing is not controllable in any way, shape or form, in any size, genre, any word length, such as, for example, anti-disestablishmentarianismistic, or supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, or that's another word length. It may not be a very long or impressive word length, but you have to admit the fact it is a word length. It's a length of 3 letters. 3 letters, namely T, H and E, 2 consonants and a vowel. I looked up the word consonant in a dictionary, incidentally, recently, and I wasn't there. I know it exists because I've watched Countdown, the TV game show, for many years, and they always say, I'll have a vowel, please, and I'll have a consonant, please, and I'll have another consonant, please, and then I'll have a vowel. So it definitely exists. I probably just I'm not spelling it correctly, although my spell checker doesn't seem to recognise it at all. It says, what the fuck is this? I'm putting a red squiggly line under this. If this was a school, I can tell you, I'd be sacked for being negative for using red ink. That's what they do nowadays. You're not allowed to use red ink because it's negative. You're not allowed to be negative. Two negatives make a positive. They forget that, you see. But if there's an odd number of negatives, if the child gets, for example, 3 questions wrong, then you have an odd number of negatives, so that all adds up to a negative. So it's still negative. But whose fault is that? I don't know. I'm not an educationalist. I don't know about these things any more than you do. Unless, of course, you're an educationalist. In which case, I bow to your superior knowledge. I assume it's superior anyway. I've no way of knowing because I haven't mastered the field. I'm at the mercy of your claim that you are superior in this regard. Just as I have to trust the people who claim they went to the moon, because I've no way of verifying it independently because I'm not qualified to do so, whichever it is. Is it to do so or to so do? I do realise most people will say to do so, but it could be to so do, couldn't it? Why the hell not? Why the hell not? Just because it sounds odd, that doesn't mean it's wrong. I know what you're thinking there. You're thinking, where the fucking hell is this going? Well, I'll tell you where it's going now. It's going over here. It's going over here. Over here to this glass, and over here to this 2/3 full 1 litre bottle of start stimulation drink. And it's going from the bottle into my glass like this. And then it's going to go from the glass right into my mouth, down my gullet, into my stomach. Here we go. Absolutely fucking fantastic. Anyway, on with the show. Once upon a time, there was lots of things. There was lots of things once upon a time. There was more than one thing. So if I start a story and I say something like, once upon a time there was a cat, I'm not claiming that there was a point at which nothing existed in the universe except a cat. No, there was other stuff as well. It's just that this story focuses around the one thing that there was. Anyway, once upon a time there was, among other things, a badger. A badger, a bit like this glove puppet I have, except this glove puppet is not a badger. This glove puppet is a glove puppet, but it's also a representation of a black and white cat. Flat black and white cat. It has to be flat so that your hand will fit in it, because it's a glove puppet. But no, it looks a bit like a badger. So this glove puppet, if you could see it, would be a prime example of what a badger in this story might have looked like, except it would probably be a bit more animated than this. Are badgers animated? I don't know. I used to watch a live action show called Bodger and Badger on children's BBC when I was a child. That wasn't animated, not in the sense of cartoon animation anyway. No, it was live action, and the badger was a puppet, a bit like this one, a bit like this cat puppet, except maybe it was a cat puppet, and they passed it off as a badger to us children. The so-called educational children's television strand of the BBC spent decades passing off this frigging cat puppet as Bodger the Badger, or Badger, no. It was called Bodger and Badger, so Bodger must have been the name of the man in it, and Badger was the name of the badger. That would make sense, I suppose. I seem to remember that Badger was into mashed potato. He liked to eat mashed potato over and over and over again. I don't mean he regurgitated it and we ate it, although he liked to repeatedly eat mashed potato. He'd finished one lot of mashed potato and then he'd get another lot and eat that. There'd be very little regurgitation, if any at all. The parents wouldn't stand for that. You can't be portraying characters puking up and re-eating the food on a children's television program, because the anti-eating disorder do-gooders will be down your throat like a ton of bricks, pouncing on you. They'll be up in front of Parliament. They'll say these people are promoting the puking up of food and re-eating of it. Well, what's wrong with that, I ask you? As long as you're re-eating it, it's fine. If you're puking it up and not re-eating it, then obviously you're in danger of losing a dangerous amount of weight. But as long as you ultimately re-eat it and keep it down on the last re-eating, then surely that's acceptable. Admittedly, it's not the ideal way to consume food, but it's better than starving yourself to death. I think you'd have to agree, wouldn't you? Or maybe you wouldn't, would you? Who am I to say what you would and wouldn't agree with? I barely know you. I don't know any of you people. Well, admittedly, that's not the case. I've met at least two of you. Who have I met? I've met Jerry from Southern California. I've met Escapist from LA. Is LA the same as Southern California? I don't know my geography very well. Suffice to say, who else have I met? I've met Dustin, the into your head original voiceover dude. I've met, I think that's about it. Who else have I met out of you people? Mostly I've met myself. That's four. That's at least four listeners to Into Your Head who I've met in person over the last few years. I think that's quite a good record for an internet How many of you internet broadcasters can say you've met at least four of your listeners, even if you count yourself? Tell me that. Tell me no more. Or don't tell me it. Just say it in your head. Respond in your head. I don't need to actually hear it. This is all rhetorical. It's a rhetorical question for you to answer to yourself in your head for your own purposes. It's not for me. I don't need the answers. It's not a frigging survey, for Christ's sake. It's just a point I'm trying to make. So we'll slot this little segment in before the next segment, which is a bit disappointing. The next segment turns out to be a pile of crap, so I'll slot this in to boost up the quality of the first half of the show a little, and that'll balance it out. Now, I know what you're thinking today. No, that's not what I say, is it? No, I've even got my freaking catchphrase wrong. I meant to say, I know what you're thinking there. You're thinking, you're thinking, you're thinking, this is going to be one of those subpar episodes, isn't it? You're absolutely right about that. But in my defence, there hasn't been one of those for a couple of weeks. The last few episodes of Into Your Head have been absolutely fucking fantastic. So we're okay. It all balances out. It's all yin and yang, ups and downs, swings and round. Do you have the phrase swings and roundabouts over there? I'm not sure, because I heard it discussed on an American podcast recently. Some English fella rang up and said, it's swings and roundabouts. And they pretty much said, what the fuck are you talking about? And he said, I'm talking about swings and roundabouts, hence my use of the phrase swings and roundabouts. You can determine what I'm talking about by listening to the words that are coming out of my head, and they usually are. The words that come out of my head as I'm speaking are usually a fail-safe guide to what I'm talking about. Now, admittedly, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to understand them, but nonetheless, no, you can always, you start as a basis for understanding me. You start by listening to the words, and if you don't understand them, you make a mental note of them for later, for further questioning at a later point, or for further research on your own bat. Do you even have that phrase, on your own bat? I don't know. On your own bat means using your initiative, working off your own steam independently. Christ, we're getting bogged down in international differences now. Do you even know what a tomato is, you foreigners? I don't know. Do you know what a potato is, or a tomato? You say tomato, I say tomato. I would have thought they sound pretty similar. If I say frigging tomato, sure to Christ you know that I'm talking about a tomato. Are you that walled off from the rest of society that any slight difference in accent or pronunciation throws you forever and gets sure to Christ you're not. Especially you Americans who listen to this. You're in a country there that has 8 billion different nationalities living there. Yet if I say tomato here, you get confused. You think, what the fucking hell is a tomato? Is it anything like a tomato, I wonder? It couldn't be, because there's an A in there rather than an A. I don't even know a letter A. Is there a letter A? I wonder what the letter A is. Fucking hell, people, get your shit together. We live in an international world now. This is an international world where all sorts of different internationalities. The internet is all over the place. If you go up the North Pole now with a satellite phone connected to your iTelephone, as long as your iTelephone is on a provider that lets you do that, then you can connect to the internet through your satellite phone. So there's going to be people up in the North Pole on this freaking internet. How are you going to understand them when they just say Eskimo, 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 igloo, igloo, snow, 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 snow. Those are pretty much the only words we know. They're the only things we have in common, so you better learn those 3 words or you won't be able to communicate with them. Although would you want to? I don't know. Your knowledge of the snow people and the Eskimos is probably based on that freaking film. What's that film? You know, the one with your the big long film with your Fargo. That's probably the nearest you've got to any exposure to North Pole culture. Fargo, that's not even set. That's set in Canada in the snow. You're the policewoman with the fetus inside her and the gun outside her and the husband at home cooking and all that. Go watch Fargo. Expose yourself to start close to home, I suppose. Expose yourself to the Canadians first, and then expose yourself to the Eskimos when you've warmed up a bit. I've been to Canada twice, I'll have you know. I went to Toronto and I went to Montreal and I had a day trip to Quebec. They're all French there. They all said bonjour, ça va, comment ça va, combien ça, c'est combien ça, Keen Fogger will on gorilla ag kaint gaelge agus ag bearle godi on French Francais. That's what it's called. It's not called French. So ironically, the French don't call it French. They call it Francais. They say Francais, and they put a little 5 under the C, except it's not a 5. Just looks like a 5. Just because it looks like a 5 and talks like a 5 doesn't mean it's a 5. No, it's just a thing hanging off the sea, the bottom of the sea. A little squiggly thing that looks like a 5 with no cap on it. Not that you've ever seen a 5 with no cap on it. 5 with no cap on it is not a 5 at all. If you're going to get bogged down in those sorts of things, you might as well just write the word 5. It'll be easier. Don't do that fucking thing that the young people do where they take out the F and put the number 5, IVE, like that boy band used to do. No, because then you're just being... Next thing you know, you'll be tweeting at Justin Bieber saying, Justin, I want to have your babies. I want you to commit crimes against me, and therefore thereby ending your career as you end up in jail until you're 36, which will probably be counterproductive in my pursuit of fandom of your work. But nonetheless, no. Anyway, hello.
Hey, Into Your Head listeners. Do you ever shop at Amazon.com or Amazon UK? Get there through Neal's special Amazon links, and Into Your Head gets a generous cut. Every time. Just buy anything. It's that simple and doesn't cost you anything extra. Just visit intoyourhead.com/offers every time you're about to buy anything on Amazon, and follow the special Amazon.com or Amazon.co.uk links to start shopping.
Monkey nuts. That's what they call them. They call them big steaming, dolloping, steam-filled, well, not steam-filled. The steam comes off the outside of them, so they're never really filled with steam. But I suppose the steam probably comes from dampness that's within them, so, or does it? No, not necessarily. It could be just rain that's landed on them and then it heats up and they evaporate. I doubt the moisture has ever actually entered them. Do monkey nuts have moisture inside them? Surely they do. Everything that grows needs water, doesn't it? At the very least, it needs carbon. Isn't carbon the basic thing that you need to have life? Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Does carbon evaporate, or is it wet? Surely to Christ, anything that's a thing is wet. Anything that's stuff. I know a thing can be dry, but stuff usually has to be wet, doesn't it? I suppose it depends on what your definition of wet is. I don't know. What's your definition of wet? Mine is a thing that's I don't know now. It would be on the spot here. I don't know how I would define wet, and there's no point in me just looking it up because that'll be someone else's definition. The question is, how do I define wet? And frankly, the answer is I don't define. I've never got around to defining wet, possibly because I've never had the need to. It hasn't arisen. It hasn't come up in my 36 and a half years on this planet. I've never had to define the concept of wet to anyone. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. Does it mean I need a sheltered life? Does it mean perhaps that what does it mean? Does it mean that I studied accountancy and it wasn't an issue then? I can tell you, I can define a fixed asset. I can define profit and loss, expenditure, depreciation. I can define a surplus of payments deficit. I can define an undercurrent something. Bollocks. I know I can't. I failed accountancy. I dropped out of accountancy. I'm a failed trainee accountant. Failure. I'm a failure. That's what I am. I failed at life. I failed at... Hold on a minute. Excuse me, I'm aware that I'm banging the microphone a bit today, but it's just one of those days. I failed at grasping the nettle, which is probably a good thing. You're not supposed to grasp the nettle. The nettle is a stinger. It's going to sting your head off. If you grasp the fucking nettle, it'll kill you. You don't want to be grasped no more than you would grasp a bullet that's being sprayed out of a gun at you, because it's going to go right through your your hand like an explosive device and into your head to podcast. That's what you're listening to. This is a load of crap, isn't it? Absolute pile of piffle it is. Piffly pop. Piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly pop. Piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly pop. Oh, piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly poppity pip. Oh, piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly pop. Oh, piffly pop, piffly pop, piffly pop. Piffly pop, 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 piffly pop. Yay!
There's still more to come on
Into Your Head.
This week's episodes of Into Your Head are sponsored in part by a podcast. Not this podcast. That would be silly. No, that would be cannibalistic. It would serve no business purpose. No. This week's shows are sponsored in part by Podcast LOL. It's a podcast that you can find at podcastlol.com. According to the creators, it's a simple, unscripted podcast with zero production effort put into it. Absolutely fucking fantastic. We just press record and talk about whatever is on our minds that day, with lots of awkward silences between. Smiley face. You can advertise it however you want, man. You seem like a pretty sharp man, so I leave it completely up to you to say whatever you want. Take care, Nicolaus. Thank you very much indeed, Nicolaus. Thank you for your patronage and your purchase of advertising slots on Into Your Head. Podcast LOL. It's a fine show. You can find it at podcastlol.com. Basically, it's a number of gentlemen, and I assume occasionally ladies, I'm not sure. They get together and they talk. They talk their heads off. They talk about things like the late dead Steve Jobs. They talk about things like would you blow another guy for $1 million? What about for only $100,000 or even $50,000? And things like what if you're blowing another guy for $1 million but you're really bad at it, so it takes forever? Absolutely fantastic. They're really into their bullet points over there, I can tell you. If you go to podcastlol.com, everything's in bullet points. That's how you do it. I'm glad to see these young people using a bit of punctuation. That's what's been missing. That's what I hate about the current generation. They set up these podcasts, but they can't even punctuate anything. But as soon as I got to podcastlol.com, I can tell you, my heart was gladdened by the presence of proper punctuation. They've got their commas and they've got their single question marks, and they're absolutely fantastic. There's no messing about over there. Podcastlol.com sponsors and part of all of this week's episodes of Into Your Head Radio. Hello. Phlatus. This is an experiment. Phlatus. Now, I want you to think this through and think, how were you imagining that word to be spelt in your mind? Did you spell it with an F, or did you spell it with a P-A-H? Did it end with L-O-S, or did it end with L-U-S? Or did it end with L-U-C-E, which of course would be incorrect. How you picture that in your brain tells me a lot about you. If you spelt it properly, Phlatus, then you're basically coming from the same place as I am. In which case, I wonder why you didn't give me a lift. Possibly because a metaphorical place. We're both coming from the same metaphorical place. Surely you can give me a metaphorical lift. It's the same as hitchhiking, except it's different. If I'm coming from the same place as you, surely it's economical for us to both take the same path. For example, let's say you're coming from a place where you're wondering what the true nature of a human being is, and I'm coming from the same place. Surely the efficient thing to do there would be for us to band together, and one of you takes on the job of exploring the nature of human existence, and the other one does something else with their day, just like you would in a couple. A lot of the time, one person stays home and does the cooking and cleaning, and the other person goes out to work. That's because they work as a team. We should work as a team. Me and you, the listener. If you're coming from a place of anyway, it's just something to think. Just something for you to think about there. Take your time and think about it. I'm all open to proposals from you, the home listener, on this. How we can band together and put our minds together. Perhaps we can form a what do you call it? I don't want to get weird here, but the way you can have more than one personality in one brain, and it's considered a mental illness by modern society. But we don't have to tell anyone. We can meld our minds together, like something in a science fiction movie, except more realistic. We'll meld our minds together in a realistic way, in using a so-called mental illness as our what do you call it? As our I can't think of words. I can never think of words when I want. As our prototype. We'll use a mental illness as our prototype. But we'll know, you and me, that neither of us are mentally ill, and we're doing this intentionally. Won't be like one of those Robin Williams films where Robin Williams comes along and cures you of something, and there's a big feel-good factor, and then you all die at the end or something happens. I don't know. Robin Williams is always a fucking head doctor in these things. He's always curing everybody of all their ails. And then getting upset when they all become uncured and he fails. Usually there's some sort of a happy ending or something profound happens. But life is not a Robin Williams film, it is not. It's not a fucking Robin Williams film, but it's also not a psychiatrist's chair. So let's not be bound by the rules of what is and is not mental illness. We're all mentally ill in our own little ways. Let's join forces. We'll put our mentally ill crowds together in one brain, and the other one will go out and do the hunting and kill the rhinoceroses and bison. Basins of bison. Is that a thing? Can you have basins of bison? You probably can. If you're in a veterinary surgery and you're performing surgery on a bison, surely if you're taking out their gallbladder or something, surgeons, nurses always have those little basins that you put removed pieces of flesh and organs into. So you take out the whatever you're extracting, the gallbladder or whatever. You take it out with the tongues and you dump it into the basin, and the nurse goes away with it. So that would be a basin of bison, not a whole bison. It would just be a basin full of bison material, bison extract, I suppose. Extract of bison. That's probably a thing if you go on one of these vitamin sites. Basin of bison. Absolutely fucking fantastic. Anyway, on with the show. Now, I know what you're thinking there. You're thinking, You're thinking, oh. You're thinking, oh. You're thinking, oh. You're thinking, oh. And that's about it. That's all you're thinking, and that's fine. You don't need to think while you're listening. Let me do the thinking for you for these 30 minutes of your day, every Monday, Wednesday. Let me do the thinking for you for 3.5 hours of your week. Think of it as the opposite of meditation. You take time out of your brain to allow someone else to take over, and I'm prepared to do that as a service to you, the home listener, or the listener at work. If you're listening to this on a frigging crane or something now, be careful. Don't switch off completely. But no, if you're listening to this at home, sit down, put down the child, sit down on the sofa, turn off the television, drink some beer unless you're a recovering alcoholic, eat some sweets, maybe make a sandwich. Any sort of a sandwich will do. As far as I know, I haven't set out any particular dietary requirements for the list. Maybe have a bowl of mashed potato, just like Badger would, and then sit down. I've already told you to sit down. I shouldn't have said that yet. I should have said don't sit down until you've prepared everything that you need, if you need anything, or else you shouldn't really need anything to listen to this except your MP3 player or your laptop or whatever you listen. What do you listen on, I wonder? I don't know. I've no way of knowing unless I look at the stats, I suppose. They probably give me some indication. The fact is, I don't really care. I don't care how you listen to this, or what you listen, or what apparatus you could be listening to this on a coat hanger jammed into your skull for all I care. That's fine, although I'd like to know how you manage that. Surely that would pick up radio waves, not internet podcasts. I don't know. Who am I to say? Anyway, sit down, relax, take a chill pill, take a couple of... don't take caffeine pills though. I take the caffeine pills. That's because I take the caffeine pills for this half hour because I'm in control. I'm the one who has to be alert and awake and up for it. You just sit down, chillax, take a couple of sleep aids, as long as you don't fall asleep till the end of the show. There's people who listen to this as they fall asleep. I'm not sure whether I should take that as a compliment. I don't. If I went up to you in the street and you started telling me a story about your life and I started nodding off in front of you, I think you'd be offended, would you? Or maybe you wouldn't. What you should be offended. You should be as offended as be damned. You should say, fuck you, you cunt, falling asleep. I'm telling you a fascinating story, just because you're not interested in it. If you're not interested in it, don't listen. If you're so uninterested that you fall asleep during this, then I suppose you're welcome to listen anyway, as long as you use my Amazon links. See intoyourhead.com/offers. Anyway, the point of all this is the end of the show. Goodbye.
Sit, Frosty. Sit. Good cat.